Hola, bienvenidos a Spanglish con Fercho. Este es tu espacio para aprender inglés de manera sencilla y divertida. También es el lugar perfecto si tienes muchas ganas de aprender algo nuevo cada día. Así que relájate, sonríe y prepárate para descubrir que el inglés puede ser tan fácil como decir hello. Hola, hola. Bueno, el tema de hoy es el Past Unreal Conditional o el tercer condicional. Recuerda que si quieres ver la explicación de este video en inglés, ve al minuto que sale en pantalla. También no se te olvide suscribirte, darle like y si quieres alguna gramática en especial, puedes ponerlo en comentarios. O también puedes practicar esta gramática escribiéndolo en comentarios y yo con mucho gusto te doy tu retro. Sin más, vamos a comenzar. Muy bien. Vamos a revisar la imagen en pantalla y dice, What's going on? If I had been more organized, I wouldn't have had all this work to do. Eso significa, si hubiera sido más organizado, no hubiera tenido todo ese trabajo para hacer. Todo este condicional está en el pasado. Me estoy imaginando si el pasado hubiera sido distinto. Me estoy imaginando qué hubiera pasado si mis decisiones hubieran sido distintas en el pasado, qué resultado hubiera tenido. Estoy hablando de cosas que no ocurrieron y no sucedieron. Aquí, por ejemplo, aquí no fui organizado en el pasado y hubo un momento en donde se me acumuló el trabajo y tenía muchas cosas que hacer. Este es el tercer condicional. La definición sería, nosotros utilizamos el condicional 3 o el Past Unreal Conditional para hablar de situaciones imaginarias y sus resultados en el pasado. O sea, el tiempo es pasado, mis expresiones de tiempo tienen que ir en pasado. Puede ser ayer, la semana pasada, el mes pasado, como tú lo quieras hacer, pero es pasado. No tiene relación con mi presente. Vamos revisando este ejemplo. Aquí vemos en la imagen a una persona comiendo tacos. Y la siguiente imagen es la misma persona, pero con dolor de estómago. I had 20 tacos last night and yesterday I was feeling sick. Esto quiere decir que anoche comí un chorro de tacos y al ratito después me estaba sintiendo mal. El condicional lo podría decir como If I hadn't had too many tacos yesterday, I wouldn't have gotten a stomachache. Si no hubiera comido tantos tacos ayer, no me hubiera enfermado la panza o no hubiera tenido dolor de panza. Ese es el tercer condicional. El tercer condicional es muy común como para cuando te arrepientes de algo. En inglés se llaman regrets, que es como de que, ay, ojalá no hubiera hecho esto, ojalá hubiera hecho esto. Y ahí es cuando podemos utilizar esta gramática para dar esa idea. En este segundo ejemplo podemos ver a una persona que pasa una escuela de francés y dice maybe later, o sea, ahorita no. Y en la segunda imagen se ve como que lo rechazaron de su trabajo, de un trabajo que estaba, no sé, se estaba postulando y tal vez el francés era algo importante. Entonces, la situación es, I had the opportunity to learn French, but I decided not to study it at that time. Que tuve la oportunidad de estudiarlo, pero decidí no hacerlo por cualquier razón. Entonces, el tercer condicional sería, I wouldn't have been rejected if I had studied French when I had the chance. Y me rechazaron, ¿no? Entonces, no me hubieran rechazado, que es una posibilidad, mi situación imaginaria en el pasado, no me hubieran rechazado si hubiera estudiado francés cuando tuve la oportunidad. Entonces, este es otro ejemplo que muestra el hubiera, el tuve una chance, tuve una oportunidad de algo, pero pues no la tomé y el resultado fue algo que a mí no me gustó. Y me voy al pasado en la situación imaginaria en donde tal vez me hubieran dado el trabajo si hubiera hecho esto. Vamos a revisar la estructura que dice if, condition and result. Recuerda que al ser un condicional puedes hacer el switch con el resultado y la condición. Se pueden intercambiar y no pasa absolutamente nada. Puedes empezar con tu resultado y después tener la condición. El if siempre va a ir justo al lado de mi condición. If I had. Entonces, If I had y el verbo en pasado participio. Recuerda que este verbo es la tercera conjugación de las tablitas de conjugaciones de inglés, que sería el simple present, el simple past y el past participle. La tercera columna, que es el past participle, ese verbo es el que voy a utilizar. Por ejemplo, take, took, taken, get, got, gotten, play, played, played. Recuerda que para los verbos regulares es exactamente lo mismo el simple past y el past participle, pero hay verbos que cambian las tres formas. Bueno, la estructura, como ya dije, es el if I had, past participle. Después tengo would, have, y después otro verbo en past participle. Aquí tengo que tener mucho cuidado porque si te fijas, hay varias conjugaciones que se necesitan. También, el modal would puedo cambiarlo por should, might, could o algún otro modal si el contexto me lo permite. Pero vamos a utilizar el would ahorita, que es como el básico o el general para enseñar la gramática. Y bueno, si quieres después te puedo dar ejemplos con otros modales. Bueno, vamos con los tips especiales, que es la contracción de had y would es la misma. Es un apóstrofe de, por ejemplo, if I'd known es if I had known. Y la segunda parte, I'd have invited you es I would have invited you. If I had known you were in town, I would have invited you. Aquí la contracción es la misma, pero son dos palabras distintas. Si hubiera sabido, te hubiera invitado, que sería la traducción de este enunciado. Y en preguntas, la estructura de la pregunta va a ir en mi resultado. En mi condición la voy a escribir normal, if I had, if she had, if he had, pero la estructura de pregunta va a ir en mi resultado, would you, would he, would they, all right, would we, would you have invited Eric if you'd known he was in town? Aquí recuerda que como es pregunta y cambio el orden del verbo, aquí no puedo hacer contracción. Bueno, el orden del modal y del auxiliar, no puedo hacer la contracción porque sería would you y no you would. Que en ese caso sí podría hacer contracción cuando no es pregunta. Habrías o hubieras invitado a Eric si hubieras sabido que él estaba en la ciudad. Recuerda estos tips en especial por si los ves por ahí, por si los escuchas, por si estás viendo una película, escuchando una canción y ves la letra o ves los subtítulos en inglés, sepas de qué se está hablando. Bueno, vamos a practicar un poco. Te voy a dar la situación y te voy a dar una parte del enunciado y tú lo completas con la siguiente parte del enunciado. Mi situación es, I forgot to charge my phone, so I couldn't call you. Se me olvidó cargar mi teléfono y no te pude llamar. El condicional sería, if I had charged my phone. Te doy un poquito de tiempo para que pienses la respuesta. La puedes decir en voz alta, la puedes escribir. Y bueno, si dijiste I would have called you, es una respuesta posible. If I had charged my phone, I would have called you. ¿Ok? Si hubiera cargado mi teléfono, te hubiera llamado. Ok, vamos revisando otro ejemplo. La situación sería, yesterday it was rainy, so I couldn't go out. Ayer estaba lloviendo y no pude salir. Aquí, si te fijas, te estoy dando la oportunidad de que pongas la condición después y que tú empieces con con el resultado. ¿Cuál sería el resultado de esta condición? Si dijiste I would have or I would have gone out if it hadn't been rainy, está muy bien. Recuerda que puedes tener más de una respuesta correcta si tiene sentido con la situación, pero puedes decir I would have gone out if it hadn't been rainy. If it hadn't been rainy, I would have gone out. ¿Ok? Entonces puedes utilizarlo, recuerda, empezando con la condición o teniendo la condición en segunda posición y no importa, al final es la misma idea. Este tipo de oraciones se pueden intercambiar. Bueno, vamos a hacer uno más. La situación sería: The children were sick last week because they were playing in the rain. Te voy a dar el resultado en este momento y tú vas a hacer la condición. El resultado sería: The children wouldn't have gotten sick. ¿Cuál sería mi condición? Si mi resultado es: los niños no se hubieran enfermado si, te doy unos segundos. Ok, y si dijiste if they hadn't played in the rain, perfecto. The children wouldn't have gotten sick if they hadn't played in the rain. Los niños no se hubieran enfermado si no hubieran estado jugando en la lluvia o si no hubieran jugado en la lluvia. Recuerda que lo puedo intercambiar. If the children hadn't played in the rain, they wouldn't have gotten sick. Perfecto. Bueno, esta es la última práctica y si quieres puedes poner tus respuestas en comentarios y con mucho gusto te doy feedback cuando los lea. What would have happened if? ¿Qué hubiera pasado si? Tengo tres situaciones y tú puedes responder las tres o la que más te parezca. What would have happened if Iron Man hadn't snapped his fingers in Avengers Endgame? What would have happened if the Titanic had avoided the iceberg? What would have happened if Scar hadn't betrayed Mufasa? Bueno, esto sería todo y muchas gracias. Hello, everyone. Well, today we're going to check the third conditional or the past unreal conditional. Like the name implies, it's an unreal situation in the past. Okay? Let's check this situation. What's going on? If I had been more organized, I wouldn't have had all this work to do. Let's pretend that this happened last week or yesterday. Remember that this is past, so my past situation, it's not connected to the present. Okay? If I had been more organized means I was not organized or I was not organized enough. The result or the real life result was that I had a lot of work to do in that moment because I was not organized. I express it like this: I wouldn't have had all this work to do. This is my structure to explain or to express the idea of an imaginary situation. Remember, the real life situation was that I was not organized. So the imaginary situation is if I had been more organized. Okay? So the result would have been different. Let's continue with the explanation. The third conditional or the past unreal conditional is to talk about imaginary situations and their results in the past. Okay? If you're a Spanish speaker, el hubiera. That's very common in Spanish. To say el hubiera no existe because these situations never existed. You're pretending, you're imagining what would have happened if the situation had been different. That's what it is. Look at this other example. I can see a person eating a lot of tacos, and the moment after, the person looks sick or that he has a stomachache. The situation is, well, last night, I had 20 tacos, and I was feeling sick after that. The third conditional, if I was expressing a regret, would be if I hadn't had too many tacos yesterday, I wouldn't have gotten a stomachache. Do you see how it works? Okay, let's go to another example. My situation is that I had the opportunity to learn French, but I decided not to study French at that time. Sometime later, I was rejected. Um, I was applying to a job offer, and I was rejected because for that job offer, I needed to I needed to speak French. Okay, so my regret could be said like, I would not have been rejected if I had studied French when I had the chance. Do you see how it works? Excellent. Okay, people. Let's talk about the structure a little bit. If you're a little mental, like I am, you need the formula. If you don't need this, you can go to the next part where you practice. Well, the structure: if, condition, and result. Remember that conditions can be switchable. You can switch the result and the condition, and that's fine. You are giving the same idea. The idea doesn't change at all. If, condition, and result. Result, if, and condition. Remember that my condition is always next to my if. All right? If, had, verb in past participle, remember that I need a person or a subject. If I, if you, if my father, if my best friend, if the company, okay? If, subject, had, verb past participle, and then would have and the verb in past participle. I need another subject in the second part, like the examples. If I had been more organized, I wouldn't have had a lot of work to do. Let's remember what the verb in past participle is. Remember that in these little charts where I see the verb conjugations, present, past, and past participle, well, it's the third column. The simple present, simple past, and then the past participle. For regular verbs like play, my simple past and past participle is the same, but sometimes I have verbs that are irregular and the three forms are different, like take, took, taken, or like in get, got, gotten, eat, ate, eaten. But sometimes, like understand, simple past and past participle is the same. You can say understood and understood. And I have to use two past participles in the condition and in my result. So that's the structure, people. You can practice the structure. You can write examples on your own. You can look up for more examples to practice the structure if it's a little difficult for you. So you can master this conditional. All right, let's talk about the special tips. Remember that had and would have the same contraction. Apostrophe D could be had or could be would. Like in the example, if I'd known you were in town, I'd have invited you. The first I'd is I had, and the second one is I would. If I follow the structure correctly, that's what they mean. If I had known you were in town, I would have invited you. Okay? So just be careful with this little detail. And the questions. If I make a question with a conditional, my question structure is going to be in the result. The condition stays the same. Okay? Remember that I can switch it. If you had known Eric was in town, would you have invited him? Would you have invited Eric if you'd known he was in town? Okay? Remember that in these kind of questions, I cannot use the contraction because my auxiliary would, or the modal verb would, is before my subject. Would you? Would I? Would he? All right? And I cannot use a contraction in this case. All right, people, let's practice. I'm going to tell you a situation and you have to complete the sentence using the third conditional structure. The situation is I forgot to charge my phone, so I couldn't call you. if I had charged my phone. Okay, I'm going to give you some seconds. If you said, if I had charged my phone, I would have called you. That's good. Remember that you can have other answers if they fit the context. That's perfect. So if I hadn't charged my phone, I would have called you. That's great. Let's go to the next example. Yesterday it was raining, so I couldn't go out. That's the situation. Now let's use the third conditional to create an imaginary situation. The imaginary situation is if it hadn't been rainy. As you can see, you have to start with a result in this example, so you can use both structures. What's the result for if it hadn't been rainy? Well, you can say something like, I would have gone out if it hadn't been rainy. I would have gone out if it hadn't been rainy. Great. Let's do one more. The situation is, the children were sick last week because they were playing in the rain. My result is, the children wouldn't have gotten sick. What is my condition? What is my imaginary situation? Well, if you say something like, the children wouldn't have gotten sick if they hadn't played in the rain, that's great. Remember that you can switch it. If the children hadn't played in the rain, they wouldn't have gotten sick. All right, let's do one more practice. You can answer this out loud, or you can type your answers in the comments, and I will gladly give you some feedback. You can answer the 3 questions. You can answer 1 or 2 questions. That's fine. It's just practice for you. What would have happened if Iron Man hadn't snapped his fingers in Avengers Endgame? What would have happened if the Titanic had avoided the iceberg? What would have happened if Scar hadn't betrayed Mufasa? All right, people, thank you for watching this video. Don't forget that if you like this video, subscribe to this channel. Like the videos, share the content with people that you think they might like it or need it. And that's all. And you, what would you have done instead? Have a great day.